Welcome back, y'all.
Welcome to the Semi-Americans podcast.
It is the Semi-Americans podcast, episode 3.
I'm Eddie the Petty.
And I'm Manny Flacco.
Just kidding. It's the opposite day. So
Yep.
We're really happy to have you all back. I know we felt like it was our best episode in the season. We've only had two. But we felt
50-50 between which one was the best episode so far.
We did our thing on the last episode, I think, and it was...
The best one's coming soon.
Yeah.
So
this might be the best.
Just keep
I think
listening.
this is the best one. Yeah.
Just keep listening.
But yeah, excited to be back. How are you feeling, man?
Better.
Yeah, I feel like we both had long weeks.
Yeah, it's been super busy between the podcast and just regular work and family.
Yeah.
Trying to find balance.
Yeah.
It's always trying to find new balances.
I hear you.
And I'm not talking about the shoes.
Until we get a sponsorship.
Hey, if we do get a sponsorship, then... Yeah. Damn, I'm wearing New Balances right now.
Yeah. I would rock Heelys if it meant we got a sponsorship at this point.
Yeah.
I'll roll around everywhere. I don't care.
Someday.
Yeah. I can't... I mean, I feel like we both had long weeks. But God is good, man. I can't complain too much. Family's good. All things considered.
Yeah, we're still healthy, still here.
Yep.
So we just want to give a shout out to all the listeners, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you listen.
Yeah. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram. We could include the handles, I guess.
Yeah.
In the description. But really is a lot of outpouring of support, and we wouldn't be here without our listeners. So we really appreciate everybody that's been sharing our episodes and our podcast.
Yep. Glad to hear that some people didn't know about some of the history last time.
Yeah, I mean, that was most of the feedback that I got was that's why it's so important for us to cover these topics, because it's not really televised. The media that you consume is going to be biased.
Right.
And
there's so much going on.
Yeah.
There's always so much going on. The news cycle's insane.
Right.
And who's going to go back and tell stories from, 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s?
Right.
Nobody really cares about that anymore.
Right.
Even though they should.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, I completely agree. I think overall the message is pretty clear on both of our sides as far as, what led to our parents immigrating to the U.S., what led to us coming here. And it's tough to do, man, because Ethiopian history is rich, same way that El Salvadorian history is rich. And for us to try and encompass all the events that happened in such a short period of time, because we have a 50-minute episode.
Yeah.
And it's 20 minutes each where we're discussing it. So it's a tough task, bars. But I think overall we, at least from the feedback that we received, we did what we were setting out to do.
Yep. And I'm sure each and every other country has a story to tell that's kind of similar to ours when it comes to the causes of immigration and making sure that that story is told.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. And it's, hopefully we have guests from many, many different areas of the world that come and tell their story and give us a little bit of a history lesson.
I agree. That's also part of the feedback that I got is people saying, oh, in a future episode, I'd love to tell my story and kind of discuss what led to my family immigrating. And it's people from all over the globe. So we're really excited to get to that. I think as the episodes build, there'll be something we've already discussed. We'll have different perspectives kind of come on. But excited about where this is going to go. I think no matter what, our goal is to, like we've always said, be genuine, put out quality content, and express our views, learn as we go. As we saw, from the first episode, there are a lot of things that we were building on. So we're kind of setting the foundation. I'm excited, man, and I'm glad to be working with a brother like you. All right, next, before this gets too sappy, still got to keep it gangster, you know. Happy birthdays. Yes, my whole family was born in September. I completely missed the memo. So happy birthday to my beautiful, intelligent, wonderful younger sister. And happy birthday to my pops. They're born 3 days apart. And probably by the time this airs or they listen to it, it'll be their birthday. So, love you both very much and can't wait to celebrate with you both. I know you had an important event this past weekend, so you want to get into it?
Yeah. So after the first episode, I told everybody I've only been to one quinceañera, and I got invited to the second one.
Wait, was that accidental, or was it like after the person heard the episode?
No. It was actually, I think I had been invited a while ago.
Okay.
And I had it on my schedule, but I didn't remember.
Uh-huh.
I didn't remember. So, I went to a quinceañera this weekend. Had a great time. It'd been a while since I had been, since I had felt so, I don't know, because, as a kid, you go to like these family events and, you hear like old music. You hear old music and like it triggers memories. It makes you feel like a kid again.
You're saying from your childhood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I remember going to like not barbecues, carne asadas, and the music they used to play is just like, it's recorded in my memories. So going to a quinceañera again kind of felt like that. Not, and the quinceañera that I went to, I guess the mom might be in like her maybe late 30s.
Okay.
And her oldest daughter just turned 15. So, she's in that in-between generation.
Right.
The mom is.
Right.
So she kind of was playing some of the old classics and some of the new stuff
mixing
too,
in
right?
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, damn, I feel it.
Hey, were you dancing? Hey, you love to dance. I don't know why. You know what? Our listeners need to know the real you. Okay, they need to know that you will tear up the dance floor if needed.
I will if I have to. Look, if it's a matter of life or death, I will dance.
Oh, only life and death.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, but it's always about the 1-2 step.
No, I've seen you. You do your thing over. I won't name the club, but
don't incriminate me, bro. But yeah, so second quinceañera, that was a blast. I appreciate the invitation.
You want to go to more?
Yeah.
Keep the invitations coming.
Yeah. Hopefully, I have a third one coming up. So, hey, man, I'm having a blast.
Yeah. I love it, man.
Yeah. So that was great. It was great to be a part of. To be a part of something after having discussed it and thought about it thoroughly, because I hadn't participated in something so cultural that connected me back to the culture.
Gotcha. Was the family from El Salvador as well?
Yep. Okay. Yep. Family was all from El Salvador. They did like some traditional.
Okay.
They did some traditional dances.
Oh, nice.
So hopefully, I think that's what we're gonna make our cover art.
Yeah. That picture you showed me was really fire.
Yeah, they were wearing traditional dresses and traditional attire, and they did some of the moves. And I was like, yeah. And I mean, the nice thing too, connecting back to where we kind of want to go with this. After we discussed the historical aspect of El Salvador, it lined up with Salvadorian Independence Day.
Yeah.
So September 15th through October 15th, I believe, is Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yep.
Latin Heritage Month.
Did they call it both?
I'm not sure which one's which, to be honest.
I've seen Hispanic Heritage Month, but I don't know if they use both. That's something we'd have to look up.
Yeah. If somebody knows, please let us know if there's a difference or not. But, September 15th marks the day that a couple countries got their independence from Spain. There's El Salvador, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, El Salvador. I got that listed twice. Guatemala, I got listed twice.
Nice.
Honduras. No, it's Honduras and Mexico.
Nice. And it's National Hispanic Heritage Month as the official name, from what I see.
National Hispanic Heritage Month?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So,
important to get our facts straight. So,
yeah,
I like that you asked that. We're learning, man. We're learning.
Yep. So,
did you want to say something in Spanish? Putting you on the spot.
Well, really.
Hey, by the way, my dad was making fun of my Amharic on the last episode.
Oh, he was?
Yeah, man. You know how the professor is.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm never speaking Amharic again.
Yeah, no. So, feliz día del... Whoa. Hey. Relax. Feliz día de la independencia a todos mis paiseros.
That's where we add
a todas las panas. Yep. So,
okay. Yeah.
Shout out to everybody from each one of the countries. If I missed any, I'm sorry.
Yeah, definitely shout outs to all of the countries you just mentioned.
Yeah. I mean, Independence Day is important, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I wanted to make an Instagram post and be like Independence asterisk. Because it's like, you know,
all right, now get in your bag. I want to hear this.
You know, that was a type of independence.
Okay.
But in reality, you know, the people are still tied to a ruling class.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, one day the hope is that we'll reach real independence.
Like full independence?
Yeah, full independence.
Okay.
Because, you know, we were talking about imperialism.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a huge effect in how each one of our countries develops.
Right. And one of the messages that I got was we took it easy on U.S. imperialism. And I was like, I don't know. Trust me. We'll get into an in-depth discussion. But, of course, during the last episode, most of the story was we were trying to focus on our parents and our families, right? So we'll definitely get into what kind of role the U.S. plays in all of this at a later episode.
Yep.
Yeah. And one thing that you mentioned, and I definitely want to discuss this, is this whole experience that you had growing up. People were like ignorant about it, and they would call you Mexican just because, you know, the way that you looked or whatever the case was. And I want you to like get into that a little bit and kind of give us an idea of what that experience was like, how it affected you moving forward as a young kid, and how things have changed so far.
Yeah. So one of the things that we were laughing about in pre-production was, you know, I was gathering this list of countries that are celebrating their independence. And I was like, Mexico, you know, I have this weird thing,
right.
and I don't think it's as strong as it used to be, right? But as a kid, everybody got called Mexican, right? Everybody did. If you were Hispanic, you were Mexican.
It's like automatically that's what people would just go to. Right?
Yeah, you know, the typical Cinco de Mayo, where everybody thinks it's Independence Day, but it's not, you know, and they're like, oh, Mexico, like. Go back to Mexico, right? And I'm like, bro, I'm not even Mexican.
Not even from there.
No, and it created this like divide between me and what Mexico is.
Yeah,
you know,
so it's like a divide within immigrants, right?
Yeah.
So it's like instead of immigrants having that shared commonality of, oh, we're all immigrants, like we should have each other's backs and, you know, work towards something.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of like, no, I'm different from your group, and it just creates further division.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, Mexicans are really prideful.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're known for.
Okay.
I mean, they're known for a lot. Tacos, burritos. Yo, come on. I can't say tacos, burritos.
We definitely got to edit that part out.
No.
Oh,
I mean, their culinary is on point. They got good boxers. You know, they're pretty good fighters. I mean,
so let's go ahead and start a beef with them. Because I don't.
No. I love Mexicans.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, yeah. My one of my best friend's wife is Mexican.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We're gonna play that card.
Oh my god!
My best friend is black. I can't be racist.
No. Oh, it's not like that. Definitely not like that. But, yeah. I mean, growing up, it was like you're Mexican, and I'm like, no, I'm not Mexican. Mm-hmm. So, I think well, the proximity of Mexico. There's definitely a lot of Mexicans mixed in to the American culture. And their culinary was probably one of the first ones that started growing out here, right? Mm-hmm. Like, everybody else pretty much started developing off of that.
Okay.
And so they were, well known back in the night. I don't know the entire history, right. But their pride and how they stand up, and they fight back. So I feel like people knew Mexico. And they've always had vacation spots down there. So, everybody just assumes Mexico. Mm-hmm. You're Mexican. And that pride to me, it was kind of off-putting because they would call me Mexican. I wasn't Mexican. And Mexicans were prideful about being Mexican. Mm-hmm. And like, I didn't really have much to be prideful about being from El Salvador.
When you were younger.
When I was younger.
Because we had that discussion where you said things definitely changed as you got older. Which makes sense.
When I was younger, I didn't really understand what was going on. I didn't understand the history. Mm-hmm. Part of getting comfortable with who you are is knowing where you've been, right? Knowing where your roots are.
Definitely.
And understanding that and trying to develop out of that.
Yeah. Because you don't know where you're going to go if you don't know where you're coming from, right? It's kind of like that. And there's some quote along those lines. But,
all the rap songs nowadays are like, I came out the mud, right? But when you're in the mud, it's like, Yeah. But when you have that realization of like, I've been through, or like my father's, my mother, my grandmother has been through all of these things.
It's like after the fact, yeah.
Yeah, and I've made it here.
Yeah.
It does come with a sense of pride.
Yeah. And a moment of reflection, I feel like it just kind of, I don't know, sometimes it just suddenly hits you versus, I don't think it's like sometimes it's gradual, I guess, but there are moments where it'll just hit you out of nowhere and you're like, wow, what a journey. Right?
Yeah. So yeah. It was always something off-putting about being called Mexican and Mexicans being prideful, which they deserve. I mean, Oscar de la Hoya.
I think it's Canelo Alvarez now.
Alvarez.
You're showing your age here, but
they still have some of the best boxers in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so it was a little weird being called Mexican.
Just kind of like segues, right? So I think from both of our perspectives, it's important to discuss our upbringing as well, right? And we got into it a little bit during the last episode, but this topic of being Hispanic in America. And with that, obviously, you have your unique experiences. And a topic within that, right? So it's like a subtopic would be how your views on immigration changed, right? Because you didn't always hold the same beliefs regarding immigration.
Yeah.
I think our listeners, I mean, obviously me too, I think we would benefit from like hearing your perspective and kind of what shaped your thought process regarding that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely complicated. Mm-hmm. I probably didn't have the best thought process of it. It was really weird, right? So once I came back from El Salvador, right?
You're, as far as age is concerned, you're like 5, 6. Okay.
Yeah, I'm about 5 when I come back from El Salvador.
Right.
I start going to school in Arlington, which is a pretty diverse city.
Yeah.
And all of my elementary, middle school, and high school was in Alexandria, which again, very diverse.
Right.
So I think trying to find an identity in that was pretty difficult.
So there's confusion, even
right.
at that young age. That was what you were facing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I'm I hung out with some cousins and some family, but it wasn't like a super like, oh, we're Salvadorian. It was because my cousin was half Salvadorian, half Guatemalan.
Okay.
And even there, I could see some disconnect between El Salvador and Guatemala, right? That there's not a lot of unity within the different immigrants from different countries, which I would expect. I don't know. Does it happen the same with immigrants that come from Africa?
I'm gonna get into it because I want to tie Black Americans into this because I think that's a really interesting, complex conversation to have regarding. I think it's bigger than just immigrants from Africa. I think immigrants from Africa definitely stick together. You can see it by the Ethiopian community here, right? As large. There's reason for that because we try to help each other out.
But like, is there some? I mean, it's a lot of. Partially, it's joking, but at the same time, it's almost like a crabs in a barrel situation. I don't know if that's appropriate to say, but
no, but it's this thought that we can't all win, right?
Yeah,
it's like somebody has to be the best, better, whatever. Yeah. I don't know how prevalent that is within the Ethiopian community. I think different immigrant groups do better jobs of that.
What do you mean?
You could definitely see with some immigrant groups, it's like they will set each other up for success. I think you see it a lot with Koreans, for example, in this area.
That's very true.
Yeah, Koreans will make sure to set each other up for success. And I'm speaking from personal experience because I went to school where it was, there's a significant part of the student body was Korean. So there's levels to it. So you see that, and then in comparison, like, sure, other immigrant groups might not be as tight, but again, I think if we try to group together African immigrants, it's much more difficult because there's regional differences, like West African versus East African.
Yeah.
Even if there shouldn't be, right? North African,
Southern African. Is there and I'm just asking, you don't have to get into the details, right? But like, for example, my cousin who was half Salvadorian, half Guatemalan, we have little names for each other, right? Chapines, guanacos.
What does that mean?
It's just like, I actually don't know what they mean, but it's just like nicknames.
You call them that if they're from the country?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like, instead of Salvadorian, it's guanaco, Chapines are from Guatemala.
Okay.
Hondurans have their own name too. But it's kind of like it's a nickname, and you know how in Spanish, like if you're skinny, it's flaco, right? If you're fat, it's gordo. If you're white, it's chele. If you're black, it's negro. And it's most of the time it's just a nickname. Okay. But those nicknames, I feel like, are a little like to talk down on you a little bit.
Huh.
Is that something similar that happens with like Ethiopia and Sudan, Eritrea? Like, are there any?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
But I know that like Sudan and Ethiopia don't have the best relationship, right?
Yeah, but then there's also, I mean, Ethiopia is a predominantly Christian nation in a sea of predominantly Muslim nations.
Yeah.
So there's religious differences. There's fights over the Nile, as you can see with Egypt and Sudan.
Yeah.
That's a whole other topic. I'll definitely express my views regarding that at some point. But there's like, on a personal level, it's not like a Ethiopian looks at a Sudanese and has issues immediately. We don't. We share the fact that we're East African.
But would there be some people that might?
Not that I've seen.
Okay.
Not that I've seen. I've had friends from Sudan, from Somalia, from Eritrea. It doesn't really affect us on a personal level. Because a lot of the fights is, it's the rich people. It's the people in power.
Yeah.
What's a common Ethiopian versus a common Sudanese?
Right. And sometimes that's fed down to like our parents' generation, for example, right?
Yeah. I think, well,
so that's kind of what I'm getting
that
at,
have
right?
been at war, right? So you're like opening Pandora's box today.
I mean, it's just a couple thoughts, right? Because just like you're saying, I personally don't feel any type of way about Guatemalans, Hondurans, Mexicans. I said that I did before, but not anymore. Like, right. But it's just these things that are passed down through, like, I mean, I know that El Salvador and Jesus, is it Honduras? I think El Salvador and Honduras had a war over a soccer game or something, or they say that it was over a soccer. It started at a soccer game, but it wasn't about soccer. Right. But once we're here, like a Honduran to me is the same as I am. You know, it's not any different.
Right. But at the end of the day, we're all human beings, man. Right. That's really, I think, learn from each other, appreciate the differences. It doesn't have to affect your personal life. Have mutual respect for each other.
Yeah.
That's really I mean, a lot of the world's problems would be solved if we just followed those simple rules. But like I said, on a personal level, so Ethiopia's been at war. It's been at war with its neighboring countries, like throughout history, right? Whether it's Somalia with the Ogaden War in the 70s, skirmishes with Sudan before Sudan split. Now it's South Sudan and you have Sudan. Egypt's invaded twice, took L's both times. And like Eritrea, of course, gained their independence after the communist regime fell in like 92, if I'm not mistaken. So there's been war pretty much from all sides. But on a personal level, like the people that, for example, the people that are my age, they don't remember that. They were just being born, maybe, when, for example, Eritrea was getting their independence. Like, sure, you'll get some comments. Like, growing up, I would have some comments from Eritreans, saying, oh, we beat your country in a war or whatever. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But it's much deeper than that. I mean, if you really look at the history, it's much deeper than that.
Right. And I think that kind of partially, the reason why I was trying to get into that is because that affected kind of my thoughts on, like, my heritage and trying to understand immigration as a whole.
Okay.
And again, not to say that my thoughts at that time were the best, right? I grew up as an only child, so to me it was like all about me. I didn't really.
That's hard to admit. You just said, like, you kind of just said I was selfish at some point. So that amount of self-reflection, that, man.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I commend you for it.
I mean, you want to be a good person. I feel like our parents kind of raised us to be good people. But at the same time, I grew up without family. My brother and my sister were around for a little bit, but then they left the house. From about 7, 8 years old, I was raised by myself as an only child. And then the whole thing with being called Mexican in school and you get the whole wetback jokes, you get cross the border, blah, blah, blah. It's like and I'm saying you, but I mean me, I didn't want to be associated with the whole immigration thing, right? I didn't consider myself, I guess technically I'm not an immigrant, right? Am I? What is the true definition of an immigrant?
I actually looked this up like a week ago. And actually looking at immigration and emigrating, like immigrating EMI and IMMI. And that's exactly the definition that I saw, what you have pulled up on the screen. A person who comes to live permanently in a foreign country. And the other one is, the definition's like a person who moves out of a country.
If you look that one emigrate up with an E. Yeah.
Right.
Emigrate is when you move from the country, and immigrant with an I is coming to a country.
Right. So it's like leave one's own country in order to settle permanently in another.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of overlap, doesn't it?
A little bit. So if we want to do semantics and all of that, I guess I could be considered an immigrant by some people.
So. Yeah.
And not an immigrant by others.
Yeah. And a semi-American.
And a semi-American and a full American.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to be associated with being an immigrant, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was really weird. It was
negative, huh?
Yeah, it was very negative.
Yeah.
And that's being in a diverse place.
Right.
Right?
Right.
It's crazy. So I was actually having a conversation with my college roommate, shout out Colorado. And he was talking about how in college I would defend my Americanness to him. Right? Because he is second or third generation German, I believe. So it's pretty recent, but he's dirty blonde. Can you say that? Is that
just a hair color?
I hope so.
Apology incoming next episode.
Yeah, but he's blonde. Fair skin. Is that okay to say? Can you say fair skin? You can't say fair skin, right?
I'm not agreeing with anything you say anymore if it's questionable. That's how I got in trouble.
I'm asking questions, though. I'm asking questions.
Yeah, keep asking them. I don't have the answer. I'm gonna have to look that up. I'll get back to you.
So I'll just say he's white.
Caucasian. Okay.
Yeah, okay. He's Caucasian. He was saying something along the lines of, remember a couple years ago in college, I mean, this was freshman year, so 6-7 years ago? We would be like, oh, who's more American? And I'd be like, I was born in DC, man. I'm more American than you are.
Right.
And I actually think, I don't know if he was born in the States.
Okay.
So yeah, we would kind of have like these quick little I'm American type thing. And he's like, a few years later, now that we're talking about it, I'm pretty sure we're like trying to distance ourselves from that. And I felt like,
why is that?
I mean, that's a pretty loaded question. There's a lot of things going on, right? I was texting you the entire week. My thoughts right before I go to sleep are about the caricature of what an American is, right? But we'll get to that later. So yeah, I mean, growing up, I felt like I had to defend my Americanness, right? Like I wanted to distance myself from being an immigrant. And I was almost sold to that thought process, right? Of, oh, immigrants are coming here to, and I didn't think about it of like taking our jobs or anything. I was thinking about my own success, right? Because I was fed this American dream of, go to school, get a good job, make some money, like buy a mansion, the whole thing.
Right.
And I was like, if immigrants keep coming, they're gonna, it's.
You felt like your job security and your life was gonna be affected
by
immigrants?
I didn't think about. I just felt like it was gonna be more challenging for like generations down the line. I was very selfish, man. I was like, nobody really helped me. They all saw me as like an immigrant, as like less. So like once my kids get into a better position, assuming that I would be in a better position, that it would be a challenge for them. And that just comes with like the selfishness of this capitalist American dream. And it was difficult for me to like come to an understanding of like realizing that it's not all about this success or this definition of success that they give you, right? Like I was explaining, my mom kind of wanted to make sure that, you know, I was embodying this Americanness or fully integrated. And I wanted to do that, you know, for my mom, for myself.
So you were developing it for years.
Yeah.
Sounds like, right? It's not like something that just happened and
yeah. And part of it was maybe like self-hate, right? As a kid, what do you know about who you are, right? If you're taught to accept who you are,
right,
then you kind of carry that proudly,
right?
But if you're taught to be something that you're not, and you don't connect with it, then it's some self-hate, right?
Right.
And I feel like it took me years to kind of get out of that,
like break free from that.
Yeah.
Huh. What was there? Was breaking free a fast?
Oh no,
event? No, it took some time.
Yeah, no, I remember. I mean,
it's a family-oriented show.
I mean, shoot. Getting out of college, I was still pretty adamant about following this trajectory, right? Whose trajectory? I don't know.
Right.
Like what my mom had wanted for me. And we'll have an episode discussing, you know, the expectations of our parents, which are well intentioned. But it's different once these expectations are put on you. You know, because it's difficult to try to understand and merge these two things that are happening as a part of your life, right? Home life, school life,
right?
Just like we have difficulties merging work life and home life now that we're older,
right?
So no, it took me a couple of years after college to really think thoroughly of like, hey, what is this all about? Well, why have I not wanted to accept these things that I've been going through? And part of that, you know, not to blame my mom. I know that, again, her intentions were the best for me.
Right.
You know, she wanted me to succeed in this system that we're in.
Right.
But, you know, there's a sense of who you are still within you. Regardless of trying to assimilate into this system that we're in, it's still difficult to kind of take these two worlds and merge them. There's difficulties in school, there's difficulties in work. And I think I'm still developing my full thought process. But because of all those school years of being kind of talked down to or seeing immigration as a negative thing, as like, well, I'm not an immigrant because technically I didn't come here from somewhere else, but I'm being considered an immigrant, and immigrants are seen as this negative thing of like, oh, they're coming to take your job, or, you know, it kind of developed the fear in me of when I have kids, my kids are going to be competing with more immigrants. And that was me back in school, right? Because like I said, nobody really helped me get to where I was. You know, I was very selfish, I did this on my own. Like, you know, I'm going to have to keep growing. And like, it was a very greedy dream.
It's very personal.
Yeah. Very personal. And I feel like a lot of the news feeds into those fears, especially when you are kind of isolated from the culture. which, again, I had a ton of opportunities here because there is a lot of culture. Mm-hmm. But family-wise, I never had that connection, that traditional family cultural connection, which I feel probably would have helped me out a lot more.
Right.
And now I understand that family isn't just by blood. You know, there's people around you that can become your family, and you can help each other set each other up.
Right.
You know, and it's not about being an immigrant. It's not about what part of the world you immigrate from. Mm-hmm. It's just, you know, we're all here in this country trying to somehow incorporate ourselves into something that wasn't meant to benefit us.
Now, at this point in your life, you're not nearly as selfish.
No.
With your view.
Right? No.
Where do you stand right now with your views on immigration?
I think immigration is a result of America.
I mean, obviously, I'm going to ask you to expand on that.
So, not in the sense that there was an immigration before America. And it's probably happened during like other empires. You know, just like the Roman Empire went around and conquered, you know, the whole Mediterranean. Whatever the powerful nation is at the time, they go and try to conquer other lands and take up their resources, take their people up as slaves. So they take their people up as slaves. And then they start producing, right? Mm-hmm. They start producing culture, entertainment, as a result of going and looting these other cultures, territories, whatever it is. And it becomes an attraction. You know, it becomes a source of everything. I mean, that's kind of what a civilization is, right? So, like you said, it's a little bit counterintuitive.
Mm-hmm. It's like self-inflicted.
Yeah. Self-inflicted, but then the people that were there to begin with are not even there to begin with. The people that conquered, I guess,
right,
would be the thing. They feel like they deserve it, you know, like it's theirs. When in reality, they just went and stole it. And now everybody wants a part of it because, I mean...
entitlement.
Yeah. So that's what I mean by immigration is a result of America. You know, that it's been built up, and why don't people get a piece of the pie? And I think that's kind of where I was at one point where, well, I had the internal conflict of, am I American or am I an immigrant? And then once I kind of accepted the reality of things, right, which is really just my perspective on life and what I've gone through. Once I accepted that reality and realized that my perspective is just one, it allowed me to take a step back and look at it from another perspective and realize that there's more than enough for everybody. So I was seeing it as a Hispanic person born here with all the privileges, with that sense of entitlement that comes with saying, I'm an American. So I was just seeing it from a Hispanic person born here. And I received the treatment as if I were an immigrant. And I thought that I didn't deserve that. You know, there was a sense of entitlement by the way that I was raised and the experiences that I went through. But realizing that and taking a step back, you know, allowed me to understand that I hadn't gone through, you know, I had gone through my own personal pains, but the pain of being an immigrant that has to emigrate from their country, I hadn't taken the time to understand, even though it was right there with my mom.
Right.
You know, there was a lot of selfishness that was in it, a lot of self-hatred, like I said. So, I feel like that's one of the biggest confusions that we experience, you know, because you know, all the things, the ESL thing, the Mexican thing, the wetback thing, it's like, well, why do I have to go through this if I'm not? But in a way, that kind of is what is grounding me now. You know, that ability to step back and see that perspective, and having felt just a tiny portion of it. You know, I don't know the fear of being a person without legal documents.
Right. Fear like deportation, the fear of losing your job. Yeah.
Yeah. And even though I got joked on about it, in the end, it was a joke.
It didn't affect you the same way.
Yeah. So, you know, it's one of those things that takes a lot of time, a lot of reflection to look back and kind of accept that part of being a Hispanic American. And there's a ton of different other perspectives, I'm sure. I mean, we've gone through, I guess, what it is to be Hispanic here, or at least on a surface level, really, because I feel like there's so many other aspects of it, so many things that I kind of glossed over, that I probably will go back and try to touch on in later episodes. But it's not only about being Hispanic in America; it's also about being Black in America. You know, that includes people that consider themselves African American, and Black American. But I'll leave you with that question for the next episode.
Yep. I'll get into my experiences of being Black in America on part 2 of this episode.
Yep. Thanks again for listening, and stay tuned for episode 4.
Peace.